Get ready, something major is about to turn. Today will unfold in ways that defy logic, and you're among the rare few who hold the power to influence its direction. You've sensed it building, an odd weight pressing on the collective spirit. The way even the smallest moments feel delicate, tense and on edge. That undercurrent of negativity hasn't stayed hidden, it's been seeping into everything, and now it's no longer a faint ripple, it's a rising tide. Chosen ones, this is the moment you cannot sleepwalk through. The pressure is testing you, testing all of us to see who will notice, who will act, and who will simply be carried away by it. This is not a day to move blindly through. Chosen ones are wired to notice shifts before others, to catch the subtle signs before they erupt into something larger. That awareness is not a luxury, it's a responsibility, because what's moving now may not announce itself again. If you miss it, if you dismiss it, you might not recognize it until the consequences have already taken root. And while everyone else stares in the wrong direction, something else is already moving into place. There's a quiet overgrowth happening in the fabric of reality right now, a strange surge that doesn't feel like it's coming from the usual cycles of life. It's not the gentle seasonal kind of growth our ancestors depended on. This feels restless, accelerated, almost impatient. In hidden corners, the places most people never look, life is starting to arrange itself in ways that don't quite make sense. Plants curling into shapes that seem to imitate symbols, vines moving like they're following instructions, animals appearing with subtle features that don't seem to belong to them, as if something is adding new details to the blueprint of their design. It's easy to miss if you're not paying attention, but the chosen ones can feel it, that faint hum beneath the surface, like creation itself is being pushed to replicate faster, spill over, and fill every empty space. Not out of beauty, but out of preparation. And that's the question no one is asking. What is this hidden bloom getting ready for? Why does it feel like the world is quietly multiplying itself in the shadows? Somewhere, something is waiting for the right moment to step out from behind all this growth. And when it does, everything we thought was still will start moving. Something is agitating the space between what's seen and what isn't. It's not some quiet spiritual curtain parting, like you've heard 1,000 times before. This is different. This is the unseen world pushing back. It's as if the energies that have been quietly building for months are finally getting impatient, spilling over into the physical, in ways most people will dismiss without a second thought. The chosen ones will notice the shift instantly. You'll feel it in the way conversations seem slightly off, in the way certain people avoid your eyes, or even in the strange patterns you catch out of the corner of your vision. While others chalk it up to just one of those days, you know there's something moving behind it, something intelligent. And if you're one of those who can see it, it's not by accident. You're meant to feel this unease. You're meant to recognize that the world isn't just acting strange, it's reacting to something deeper, something that hasn't yet revealed itself. You're being activated to guide, but only when the room goes quiet. Today won't feel like a grand stage with all eyes on you. In fact, the moment may come in silence. Maybe it's a stranger at the bus stop who seems lost in more ways than one. Maybe it's a friend's message that feels heavier than they're letting on. Maybe it's a single comment online that you feel strangely pulled to respond to. You won't be pushed into it. No one is going to announce this is your moment, but something inside will nudge you. You'll feel the pull, that subtle signal that says this one's yours. That's not coincidence. That's your role awakening. And here's the thing, you won't need to preach, convince or grandstand. Sometimes the most powerful guidance is simply being what others forgot they could become. The world needs reminders right now, and you are one of them. The question is, when the call comes today, will you answer? You're being protected in a way you won't recognize until later. Some days life moves in straight lines. Today is not one of those days. Today is full of bends, detours and sudden stops that feel inconvenient in the moment. but there's something moving behind it all. You might miss the bus by seconds. You might spill coffee on your shirt just as you were about to leave. You might get stuck talking to someone who keeps you from being where you thought you needed to be. Most people will call this bad luck, but if you could see the other side of the thread being pulled today, you'd realize these are divine edits. The energy right now is actively rerouting you like an invisible hand, steering you away from something that would have tangled your path. Not because you're fragile, but because there's something bigger you're meant to encounter instead. Some of the greatest blessings hide inside what feels like disruption. What looks like a delay may be buying you time for the right door to open. What feels like an obstacle may be protecting you from stepping into a situation before it's ready to receive you. The chaos is camouflage. The interruption is a favor. So if today feels strangely disjointed, if things refuse to go as planned, don't fight it. Watch where it's leading you instead. Sometimes the most miraculous shifts happen in the seconds you weren't supposed to be there at all. Before calendars and digital clocks ruled our sense of time, people measured the world through the land, the light, and the stars. In many ancient traditions, mid-August marked a subtle but powerful turning point. The moment between the fullness of summer and the quiet pull toward harvest. It was the bridge between expansion and preparation. They noticed that around this time the fields changed their tone, the air shifted its weight, and the light bent differently across the horizon. It wasn't just nature adjusting, it was the spirit world leaning closer to them. This period wasn't simply seasonal, it was a spiritual crossroads when guidance and omens flowed more easily into the human realm. August 14th often sat in the shadow of something even greater. The rising and observance of Sirius, the spiritual sun, which many cultures saw as a gatekeeper between worlds. To the Egyptians, it marked the flooding of the Nile, the lifeblood of their civilization. To others, it was a cosmic beacon, signaling renewal, guidance, and divine messages. Whether you believe in these traditions or not, there's a reason these beliefs lasted for centuries. They worked with the energy, not against it. And today, you might find yourself feeling that same thin edge between two seasons, between two worlds. The light is shifting, the atmosphere is speaking, and for those paying attention, this date still carries a weight that's hard to put into words. Spiritual confidence isn't fearlessness, it's forward motion. The energy today is going to play tricks with perception, and that's not a warning, it's an invitation. There's a certain rhythm to life when everything feels ordinary. And then there are days like this when the rhythm doesn't just change, it hesitates. It pauses in a way you can feel in your bones. The air seems to hold on to itself just a second too long, and every part of you knows something is off. Most people will treat that pause as a stop sign. They'll hold back, close up, and wait for whatever's causing it to pass by. But you weren't made for that kind of retreat. You've already learned that discomfort isn't the enemy. That strange tug in your instincts, that sudden tension in the atmosphere, it's not there to shut you down. It's there to sharpen you. You're not here to live only in the places that feel familiar and safe. You're here to be the person who can step forward when the moment feels unsteady, who can meet the unknown without demanding that it explain itself first. This is where most people miss the point. They think bravery is about charging ahead without a hint of fear. It isn't. Bravery is about moving while your mind is still trying to convince you to turn around. It's holding your ground while everything in you searches for a reason to leave. Fear doesn't vanish for the chosen ones. It becomes the compass. It, quote, how you know you're standing at the edge of something worth crossing. There's a weight to the air right now, not heavy enough to crush you, but just enough to make you notice every step you take. That's intentional. The strangeness isn't an accident of fate. It's the stage being set. Every odd moment, every small piece of timing that doesn't quite line up is like a subtle doorway swinging open, but only for those willing to walk toward it instead of away. The path through it won't feel lit or clear. It won't offer guarantees, And that's exactly why it's the right one. What you'll find on the other side of this isn't some dramatic revelation or instant transformation. It's something quieter, something far more powerful. The realization that you can trust yourself in any atmosphere, no matter how uncertain it feels. You'll remember this day, not because it handed you all the answers, but because you kept walking when it tried to convince you to stop. And that choice, invisible to almost everyone else, will change everything. Not all presences are here to harm. Some are here to help you. Today carries a strange awareness, the kind that makes the air feel just slightly alive. If you felt watched today, it might not be your imagination, but it also might not be what your fear expects. There's a difference between being monitored by something that wants to catch you off guard and being observed by a presence that's quietly rooting for you. The difference isn't in the sensation itself, it's in the way your body reacts. That sudden calm that sweeps through your chest for no reason. The way your breathing deepens without you forcing it. The subtle sense that there's something steady at your back. That's when you know you're not being stalked. You're being supported. These entities don't work like the stories we tell about angels descending in light or guides announcing their presence with fireworks in the sky. They move with patience. They are looking for something beyond your words, beyond the way you talk about your path. They're paying attention to what you do when nobody is looking, how you carry yourself when the energy of the day tries to throw you off balance, whether you move through the awkwardness with grace, whether you choose patience when it would be easier to snap, whether you trust your own sense of timing, even when it doesn't match the world's. You might never hear their footsteps or see their shapes in the corner of your vision, but you'll feel their effect. The way a conversation suddenly flows more smoothly after you thought it was going to break apart. The way you manage to find exactly the words you didn't think you had. The way a door stays open just long enough for you to get through it without rushing. They're not pulling the strings for you. They're holding the space around you, keeping certain obstacles from closing in, so you can prove to yourself that you're ready for more. This is not the kind of protection that shields you from every challenge. In fact, you might still encounter the odd delay, the tense interaction, the moment where something almost throws you off. But look closer. Notice how those moments stop short of doing real damage. Notice how the right person happens to arrive just when you need an extra hand, or how you catch yourself before saying something you would have regretted. That's the subtle signature of a guardian working in the background, not to save you, but to give you space to rise to your own moment. There's a kind of respect in the way they watch you. They're not here to make your life easier. They're here to see if you're ready to step into a bigger life entirely. And if today feels a little more intentional than usual, if you sense that quiet push to make a better choice, even in the smallest decision, it's because they're leaning in closer. You may never get a sign that makes it into your camera roll, but the proof is in the way you move through this day differently. The watchers will see it. The smallest thoughts can bend the moment. Today has a way of pulling you half a step ahead of reality. As if you're walking in the blueprint before it hardens into the world around you. It won't hit like a grand vision or a thunderbolt of prophecy. It will be smaller, quieter, the kind of thing that almost slips by if you're not paying attention. A thought flickers through your mind, so casual you barely register it. And then the world moves in a way that makes it real. The sensation is almost mischievous, like you and the moment just exchanged a secret glance that no one else saw. It can be something as tiny as picturing a sound, and then hearing it seconds later, or imagining a movement in the corner of your eye that arrives just as you thought it. At first you'll want to file it under coincidence, but the rhythm will keep showing itself. These moments stack quietly, and with each one you feel a subtle tightening between thought and occurrence, a shortening of the space where reality decides what's going to happen next. That shrinking space is where your awareness lives today. This isn't about control in the traditional sense. It's not a tool to force the world to do what you want. It's more like you've stepped into a part of the timeline where your perception runs so close to the present that it feels as if you're brushing against the thread that stitches the future together. You're sensing events as they lean toward unfolding just before they tip over into happening. It's the briefest of moments, so small you could miss it entirely, yet it carries a strange, almost electric charge when you catch it. The longer you hold your awareness here, the more you start to realize how much of reality is built in the quiet seconds before it becomes visible. You'll notice your instincts sharpening without you trying. The subtle predictions will happen more often, as if the moment is training you to listen in a way you never have before. It's a delicate balance. The more you push to make it happen, the more it slips away, but the more you simply notice, the more it seems to align with you. By the end of the day, you may catch yourself smiling for no reason, because you'll have seen the proof in small ways. The curtain swaying when you pictured movement. The sound arriving right after you imagined it. The stranger dropping something just as you glanced at their hands. None of it will change the course of history, but together, these moments are showing you something essential, that the line between the inner and the outer world isn't as thick as it appears. Sometimes it's barely there at all, and on days like this your awareness slips straight through it. Watch how people hesitate. They're feeling the same shift you are, even if they don't know it. There's a certain rhythm that human interaction normally follows, an invisible tempo that allows conversations to feel effortless and timing to fall into place without much thought. But today, that rhythm seems to be stumbling. You might notice it in the way someone answers you a beat too late, or how a handshake lingers just slightly longer than it should. There's no visible cause, no obvious discomfort, yet the flow between people feels like it's running through molasses. Even laughter might arrive late, as though the room had to wait for permission to let it out. It's not shyness, and it's not poor communication. What you're feeling is a subtle mismatch between inner and outer timing. Everyone's personal clock is trying to sync up with the strange cadence in the air, but the calibration isn't instant. And that slight delay in the exchange is the echo of the adjustment process. The body moves to respond, but something in the energy makes it hold back just long enough to be noticeable. Most won't even realize it's happening, yet they'll feel it in a quiet frustration they can't explain. If you pay close attention, you'll see that this hesitation is everywhere. In the way someone reaches for a door handle and then pauses. In the way a friend starts to speak only to stop mid-breath. In the way a stranger's eyes meet yours and then quickly shift away. It's a pattern that looks like randomness but isn't. It's the shared effect of a collective realignment. A moment when the external world is moving on one beat and the internal world is trying to catch up. The disconnect is small, but the ripple it creates is big enough for the chosen ones to sense. You may even feel it within yourself. A sentence forms in your mind, but doesn't leave your lips right away. You second-guess a gesture you've made 1,000 times before. You walk into a room, and suddenly feel as though you've interrupted something, even if you haven't. This isn't you losing your confidence. It's you standing at the seam where two layers of reality are brushing against each other. That friction, that tiny pause, is where the shift is most alive. The awkwardness isn't a flaw in the moment. It's a sign that the moment is stretching. The usual smoothness is gone because something deeper is trying to be felt before it can be expressed. The chosen ones notice this not because they're looking for it, but because their awareness naturally leans into these small spaces where others look away. While most people are busy filling the silence, you might find yourself curious about it, holding it just long enough to hear what it's carrying. And here's the strange beauty of it. When you stop trying to correct the awkwardness, when you let it exist instead of rushing to smooth it over, you'll find that timing begins to feel intentional. You'll realize that these pauses are not mistakes in the conversation. They are the conversation. They are the space where the old rhythm is dissolving and a new one is learning how to walk. Today you're not just seeing the world hesitate. You're witnessing the exact moment it learns to breathe differently. Today is not just about noticing the strange currents flowing through reality. It's about seeing what rises in you when everything feels a little unstable. Because unpredictability doesn't just expose cracks in the world, it uncovers layers within yourself that don't come out under calm skies. When reality feels predictable, we tend to coast. We move on autopilot, repeating the same emotional and mental patterns without even thinking. But on days like today, when the air itself feels charged and the timing of events is slightly skewed, something inside you wakes up. It's the part of you that instinctively steps into alignment when the ground shifts, a quiet, ancient strength that doesn't need applause, but can change the trajectory of your path. This hidden strength doesn't always feel like power in the traditional sense. It might arrive as a sudden clarity that cuts through the noise, helping you decide something you've been putting off for months. It might be the courage to speak up in a moment when silence would have been easier, or it could be as subtle as an intuitive nudge. The urge to turn left instead of right, to make a call you wouldn't normally make, to follow a feeling you can't quite explain. What makes today rare is that the universe isn't just testing you, it's offering you a window.